Hey everybody, what is going on? Hexlex here with another Master Duel video for you. So like I alluded to in yesterday's Adventure Tenyi video towards the start, today we will be covering Swordsoul Tenyi, which was on my personal tier list, my #1 kind of pick, right? I've had it as the only deck that I think is tier 1 in terms of like power level, in terms of how much play it'll end up seeing as well. Just kind of loosely basing it on like some of the similar criteria that well, not that Master Duel meta uses in terms of like, you know, that I only pulled from tournaments, but rather in how they kind of format their tier list. So one of the reasons that I thought Swordsoul Tenyi was going to be so powerful is because of its consistency. And that's also why I've adjusted the build here and gone down to 40 cards. Pretty much the main thing that I did was I cut out, because I think we're at 41 cards earlier with 3 desires. I just cut down to 2, and I did end up replacing the what is it? Oh shoot, now I can't remember the card name. The Tenyi spell card that foolishes and searches. Vessel of the Dragon Cycle, that one. We took that one out for Heavenly Dragon Circle. So, haven't played this card in Swordsoul Tenyi before. I've seen it as a tech option, but it seems to be prevalent enough in more recent builds that yeah, I figured I'd go ahead and give it a shot too. And I've liked it a fair decent bit. It's definitely better than I kind of gave it credit for, as is kind of often the case with tech I've not personally tried yet. So that is definitely a reason to try to explore more tech, is to get more familiar with what works. Speaking of tech I haven't tried yet, I still need to try a Tenyi Spirit, what is it, the water one, Shathana, the level 4 one, that's right, because that's been seeing an increase of play lately too, and it's obviously a very good card for the deck, being a level 4 non-tuner. Opens up a lot of stuff, particularly with like the Swordsoul tokens, right? But that said, I really like being at 40 cards with this deck right now. I think it's really nice to be able to have that consistency. I think Swordsoul Tenyi as a deck is already inherently very consistent, which makes it very good in a best of 1 format. That's kind of specifically why I thought it would be so good post-ban list. Is I don't know how much I elaborated on this or how much I should have, but I do, because I play pretty much entirely like just ranked ladder best of 1. That's kind of the same way I evaluated that like meta, you know, tier list. And that's kind of why I evaluated Swordsoul Tenyi so highly, is because I think it's a very consistent deck, right? Pretty much everything it plays is at least a 2 of, if not a 3 of. And that's also why Desires tends to be pretty good in the deck. And it also just has like a bunch of really, really nice ways to push through, you know, the opponent's disruption, whether it's, you know, a classic call by or a crossout, whether it's the Heavenly Dragon Circle, or if it's just like, you know, using your special summons with like, let's say a couple of Tenyi monsters to make a Halq, and then that gets stopped, you're like, okay, normal summon Mo Ye, or like normal summon Taia, right? Like, it's not uncommon at all to be in those scenarios, and we'll definitely see scenarios like that in the games that we've got coming up. These games are going to be from just after the new season started, so we are now officially under the new ban list. Like, you know, yesterday's games were, you know, I recorded them under the ban list, but the games themselves were played during Season 8. But no, we are officially in Season 9 at the time that I am not just recording this video, but have played these games as well. I actually just got done playing these games like maybe an hour or so ago, so definitely still fresh in my noodle there. And we will definitely be playing more with Swordsoul Tenyi and other decks, both tonight and just moving forward. So I do plan to update a fair bit, if not all, of the decks that I was using before, for except maybe like Virtual World. I don't really have any concrete plans for a new build at this time, but rest assured, if you liked some of the decks that I featured before, there's a very good chance that you will see them here post-ban list soon enough as well. So, alright, now as we always do, let's see, I tried to think real quick if I want to mention anything else about the deck before we do the deck list breakdown and go through it card by card. Yeah, I don't know. I just, like I said, I really like 40 cards right now. I think it's very, very good in this, honestly, not just in this particular format, but again, in best of 1 in general, because, you know, the closer you are to 40, if you're not at 40, then the more likely you are to open with not only your combo pieces going first, but also disruption and hand traps going second. I think that's a really valuable thing to have, and I don't think it's bad to go above 40 necessarily. I just think that for my builds and how I prefer to play, or rather to, well, both play and build my decks really, I like to tend to stick to as close to 40 as humanly possible. So yeah, I don't know. I think that's pretty much all I've got, I think, at this point. Extra deck is definitely unchanged. As you know, I consider 14 of these 15 essential. The flex spot is definitely where this Borreload is here. Some people run the Adamantipator Risen Dragite. Some people will run like a different tech, level 8 Synchro. I like the Borreload Savage Dragon because, you know, if you do your Halked online and that gets disrupted, then later you can potentially Borreload and either equip the Halk or the Auroradon, depending on when you got disrupted and how. And from there, you can just have like a big Omni Negate beat stick. So just as a good backup plan, I particularly am fond of the Borreload here. But yeah, okay, let's go ahead and break down the deck list now. We are playing 1 Deskbot 001, 3 Tenyi Spirit Adhara, 3 Maxx, 3 Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring, 3 Swordsoul of Mo Ye, 2 Swordsoul of Taia, 2 Incredible Ecclesia, the Virtuous, 3 Swordsoul Strategist Longyuan, 2 Tenyi Spirit Vishuda, 3 Tenyi Spirit Ashuna, 1 Nibiru the Primal Being, 1 Archnemesis Protos, 2 Pot of Desires, 3 Swordsoul Emergence, 2 Call by the Grave, 1 Crossout Exterminator, 2 Heavenly Dragon Circle, 2 Infinite Impermanence, and then finally, of course, to round out the list, we've got 1 Swordsoul Blackout. Now, the extra deck here is going to contain 1 Yazi, Evil of the Yang Zing, 1 Baxia, Brightness of the Yang Zing, or sorry, 2 Baxia, Brightness of the Yang Zing, 1 Borreload Savage Dragon, 1 Draco Berserker of the Tenyi, 2 Swordsoul Grandmaster Chixiao, 1 Chaofeng, Phantom of the Yang Zing, 1 Baronne de Fluer, 1 Changing of the, or sorry, Swordsoul Supreme Sovereign Changing of the, that's funny. Anyway, 2 Monk of the Tenyi, 1 Crystron Halqifibrax, 1 Shaman of the Tenyi, and then, of course, 1 Mecha Phantom Beast Auroradon. So, yeah, now that we have covered the list, let's now go ahead and take a look at some gameplay. Alright, looks like we're playing against the mirror match here. Also at 40 cards, they're playing a little bit more back row removal than we are. They have like a Twin Twisters and a Feather Duster, which I did think long and hard about including Feather Duster and even keeping it as the 41st card. But again, just want to try going down to 40. And it's like, you know, if we run into enough Eldritches, then yeah, we'll go ahead and switch over to the Feather Duster. But I didn't think that'd be the case, so I decided not to here. I'm going to lead with the Swordsoul Emergence. Opponent does have an Ash to negate it, but I am a-okay with that because I've also got the Heavenly Dragon Circle. So this game is going to be short, but I wanted to show off like kind of what, just one of many things the Dragon Circle can do, right? Like I'm going to special this Vishuda and then use it to add the Mo Ye. That'll let me reveal the Longyuan, which will let me summon, of course, the Swordsoul token. From there we can go into good old Chixiao. So yeah, just having that circle just as backup searches to make my plays possible is definitely very, very, very nice. It's nice too that you can, you know, you don't have to necessarily have a Tenyi card, you just have to have a worm monster to tribute. And then yeah, sure enough, the opponent does end up conceding relatively quickly. Like I said, this was going to end up being a quicker game here, but yeah, this is one of the cases, one of the first instances where I got to use the Heavenly Dragon Circle, and but that hasn't even begun to show off like what the card is fully kind of capable of. But yeah, I just want to show off like, at least a little bit of gameplay with that. So all right, now let's go ahead and take a look at the next game. Okay, so this game is going to be against Heroes, and I kept this game because it kind of shows a good example of like when to use disruptions and negations and hand traps, like when is the best time to do all of that. So we're going to be going over that a fair bit in this game. Look at my opening hand here, it looks really good. I want to lead with this Emergence just to see if they have an Ash, and also because ideally I get a Mo Ye here in order to go with my Vishuda and Ashuna. Sure enough, that does end up being the case, so that's nice. I'm going to lead by specialing the Ashuna while I have the opportunity to. I definitely don't need to here. It's not necessary, but I'm going to do it anyway just to get it on the board in case, you know, my opponent has something that can both negate and destroy, like my Chixiao, for example. I don't want to be left like wide open with nothing at all to defend myself, so special summoning the Ashuna there. Okay, from here we're going to add the, we got the Longyuan, and then of course we also got the Vishuda wheeled back to our hand, which is very, very nice. So now we are able to go into good old Baronne de Fluer. And of course setting the Emperor, along with the C and the Nibiru in hand. Like this deck is so good when it's at its most consistent. I love it. I love it, I love it, I love it. Alright, so the opponent's going to activate the E-Call for the I think it was a Shadow Mist, actually. In-game, I thought the E called for Stratos, because I guess I just assumed that. And yeah, it looks like that was actually the case. So, I kind of think that what they were trying to do was, like, you know, add the Shadow Mist and then normal and then search for, like, the Ferris here. But I think they should have summoned the Stratos, waited for that search to see if that goes through, and then Foolish there, if that's what they wanted to do. So... Alright, here is the Ferris now. I'm actually going to use my Baron at this point. So, I've kind of been, not necessarily going out of my way to, but a little bit. I tend to have been tending to go out of my way to avoid using Baron so far up to this point. And the main reason is that Baronne de Fluer has like that catch-all kind of Omni-Negate, right? And that's actually very, very powerful and very, very useful to have. So ideally you want to save it as not necessarily a last resort, but like you want to kind of save it as your punchline, so to speak. So if there are any other ways you can disrupt your opponent, I think it's typically better to do that before using an Omni-Negate like Baron. Like earlier, I meant to point this out. Earlier we... we used the Swordsoul Grandmaster Chixiao in order to negate the Stratos there, instead of using the Infinite Impermanence, right? That kind of did end up coming to bite us a little bit, as the opponent did happen to have a 4-piece Feather Duster. I thought if they would have had it, they would have led with it, which is one of the reasons why I didn't chain Imperm. But I also wanted to kind of see if I could potentially catch a spell or trap card that was resolving in that same middle column that Imperm is. So yeah, again, you know, it's all about being mindful of when to use your negates and how to use them. Again, that the one with Imperm didn't end up working out, but this Baron one is going to end up working out extremely well, I think. Especially because the opponent also had to discard a card to use Ferris's effect, so it's kind of like a just straight up minus for them. And yeah, even though the opponent's only going to pretty much get one special summon off their Maxx here, I'll definitely still, or off my Maxx rather. But I kind of messed that whole thing up. I'm only going to get one draw off my opponent's special summon from my Maxx is what I meant to say. But I'd still rather do that to cycle the C than just have the dead card sit in my hand. So yeah, opponent summons. I'm actually not familiar with this mask here at all. Blast. I think this came out after I stopped playing, but all it really does against us is have our Baron's attack points, which is not a big deal at all. So nothing I am concerned with. Yeah, now that we have a normal monster in the form of this token on board, we can banish the Vishuda in order to bounce that evil hero off the board. I don't know, I was just like thinking about how, God, it's been so long since I made Draco Berserker the Tenyi, but this card is just so badass. I just like, I can't, every time I look at it, I can't help but admire the art. It's just, yeah, such a cool card. And yeah, I did go a little bit overkill there, but I don't know, it was very possible for the opponent to potentially maybe still have something, so I guess I just kind of wanted to make sure I had all my pieces in place by the time the game was actually ready to wrap up there, just to make sure nothing surprised me at the end. So alright, that's going to do it for that game. Let's go ahead and move on to the next one. Alrighty, next game here is against Dragon Link, which is a deck I definitely need to get more, like, back more into. I only covered it once towards the end of Season 7. I never did end up getting time during Season 8 to come back to it, and I know the deck is pretty good. I was kind of surprised, though, when a fair amount of people in the comments that tier list I did were saying that they think Dragon Link is tier 2, so if that's the case, I'm definitely you know, curious to see what makes it so like particularly good, and I'm eager to kind of like try it out for myself. So we're going to lead with the Halkdawn line here. We're going to try to anyway, with the Vishuda into the Adhara, and then yeah, into the Halqifibrax. But of course, when I go to activate the Halq effect, my opponent is going to have an Ash Blossom. So that's definitely a little bit unfortunate, but not the end of the world by any stretch of the imagination, because I do still have this Ecclesia in my hand. I can normal summon it because I haven't used my normal summon yet, thanks to using the effects of both Vishuda and Adhara there. So yeah, using Taia's effect, getting the token, then we can, by banishing the Vishuda specifically, so that way we can banish the Adhara while the Taia's token is still on the board, and wheel the Vishuda back to our hand. Now the Chixiao can freely search a Longyuan, and we can actually summon our Baron by using of course, the Vishuda that we just added, and it also has the minor benefit of being put back into the graveyard for potential use later as well to expel unwanted problems from the board there. So, like I said, we're wrapping up with Baronne de Fluer at the end of this combo here. Oh, now after the 1200 burn, we're done with our little combo here. Not much of like a combo per se, but just our play pivoting from Halqifibrax into more of a quote-unquote average kind of Swordsoul line. So, it's got a Water Enchantress here, but I fortunately have the Ash Blossom. Again, the name of the game is going to be to use as many of these responses as possible to kind of signal that, like, you know, I'm not gonna, one, I have the outs, two, I know how to use the outs, and three, that, you know, yeah, again, the game is ultimately, I don't like saying feudal, because that's like, I don't know, that feels a little mean sometimes, but it kind of seems like it was just ultimately feudal there. And it's funny, right as I was trying to think of the word to say it is when the opponent actually ended up conceding. So, but definitely GG's re-enchant is just, maybe it seemed like a possible just like bad opening or something, I don't know. Alright, let's go ahead and take a look at the next game. Okay, this next game is going to be against Thunder Dragons, which don't really see too often. I don't really see too often anymore. Kind of more saw them towards like the beginning of Master Duel. They were actually a pretty decent like tier 3 deck on some of the earlier tier lists, but have tapered off a bit since then. So we're going to end up going second, but I'm actually pretty confident going second with a hand like this. Not only because we have the Infinite Imperm, but we also have incredible Ecclesia here, which this card is like, you know, it's alright going first, but definitely becomes much better going second. So that's another reason why I like Swordsoul Tenyi so much, and also why I think it's a good contender for a tier 1 deck within this format, is because this deck can play first or second very well. Obviously, it would rather go first, and you pretty much want to pick, not pretty much even, you do want to pick going first every single time. That said, there are still many ways in which this deck kind of does shine going second, and Incredible Ecclesia is definitely one of the first and foremost. Again, another reason why we're sticking to 40 cards, or as close to 40 as possible, is to open going second cards as well as going first cards. Alright, so with one Thunder Dragon Matrix here, the opponent is able to set up a Thunder Dragon Colossus before setting up a couple of back rows and then passing it over to me. So I've got the Imperm, so I can just Imperm this very obnoxious Thunder Dragon monster here, telling me, you know, no searching allowed. Yeah, so definitely need to special the Ecclesia first to make sure we do that while you know, she's able to, because we can only do that while our opponent has more monsters here. Then I'm actually going to go ahead and go for the Longyuan instead of the Baron first, to kind of add as a sort of layer of security for just making plays in general, but mostly making sure our plays resolve here. So I will also blow up one of the back rows just to try to stop it. It actually does end up being another Lancia there, so go figure. That ultimately is not going to allow us to... Oh, you know what? Actually, shoot. I did end up making a misplay here. Oh, wait, did I? I'm trying to... Excuse me. No, I did. Not earlier, I think. Although I think I might have made a minor one earlier in this sequence. But here, actually, when I synchro some of this Draco Berserker, that was actually a misplay on my part. Because I was thinking, like, oh, Draco Berserker can battle the Lancia and then battle the Colossus for a little bit of extra damage. But... I think I will. Here's the thing. I didn't know for sure that I had lethal, but if I had thought about it for a little bit, you know, I would have considered that I was getting a draw off of Mo Ye, right? And the reason I was thinking about going for Baxia was to mostly just like spin these two out of the way and try to go for lethal this turn. But I figured, like, oh, even if I do that, I'll still be short of lethal this turn. But then, of course, you know, this whole scenario came up, and I was like, oh, I could have actually ended up, you know, I'm pretty sure getting lethal here. So, yeah, you know, it is what it is. At least the Draco Berserker boost is permanent, and even though we didn't stop the Baron here, we will have the Baron Omni-Negate moving forward alongside this Imperm that we set here. And that is actually enough to make the opponent concede. Of course, along with the Draco Berserker as well, not only representing a huge amount of attack points, but also the ability to banish any monster that activates the effect. That is definitely not one to be underestimated by any stretch of the imagination. So, alright, we have one more game here. Let's go ahead and jump straight into it. All right, last game here is against Fluanderies, which, you know, it's funny. Like, all the deck really lost was like 2 prosperity, but, you know, somehow, I don't know. I guess it is a newer archetype, so just because it's like quote unquote unpopular doesn't mean it's like guaranteed to get hit. I mean, we've seen that before with like the Halcyon combo and how much people love to, I don't know, kind of like vent about that on like the like Master Duel subreddit in particular, of just how unfair they think Halcyon is and how prevalent it is. Which, I mean, there is some degree of like criticism for that, but I don't even know what original thought got me to that point. In any case here, I'm going to Ash the Eaglin, but the opponent does have a call by. Although just the fact that they summon an Eaglin is totally fine with me, because it means they probably don't have a follow-up bird to play to some of this imp that they searched. And sure enough, no, they just set 1 card and they pass. So here, as you can see, I just have like a ton of different options with this hand. Like, there's just literally like so many different things I can do. But also, as you saw before I paused there, I'm going to ultimately lead by summoning the Adhara, and I'm actually going to go into the what is it called? The why can't I think of it? Shoot. Oh yeah, sorry. I was trying to remember. No, I was trying to remember what I searched off the Emergence, so I had to hit play, and then I remembered. Yeah, I'm actually going to end up going for the Emergence and then also the Longyuan before I do anything with this Adhara that I just special summoned. That way I can get a Baron on the board and have that done. So that way the rest of my plays are then protected. You know, always nice to be able to have that when possible. Plus Baron's ability to destroy the face down card, definitely need as well. Sure enough, that does end up being imperm, which, you know, it is what it is, but not that big of a deal. We can just, you know, make up our own mythos. Why not? And sure enough, the opponent concedes after we summon the Mo Ye there. So we summon our own Mo Ye is what I meant to say there. Yeah, so we summon our Mo Ye and the opponent concedes as they see we have follow-up plays. And that's the cool thing too, is that even if we got met with like a Veiler or an Imperm or something that we couldn't stop because, you know, they Imperm the Baron there, we still would have had the Adhara on board, so we still could have gone for the Halqifibrax there. So yeah, definitely love, just again, another thing I love about Swordsoul Tenyi. The variety of plays that you can go into just makes it a very, very flexible deck, which is, again, very, very nice to have for just a general best of 1 format. So, alrighty, that is going to do it for the games here. Let us now move on to the outro. Okay, everybody, I want to thank you very much for watching all the way to the very end like this. That definitely means a lot to, not only just means a lot to me personally that you watched the whole video, and I mean that too. Like, that is actually awesome. Like, it's definitely not something that is like required or anything like that, but I think that's what makes it so awesome and special when you guys do. And yeah, also for commenting and subscribing. Comments, always love to see them, as I am a very big proponent for community-based learning, not just with here on the channel and within Yu-Gi-Oh, but in general too, honestly. So I love to see it happening here. I love it so much. And yeah, subscribing, that's just also a great way to help the channel, and it'll get you notifications of when my videos drop, which does happen every single day. So if you subscribe, you do have the daily Master Duel videos to look forward to from me. So yeah, Swordsoul Tenyi though, I'm still reasonably confident in asserting that it is if it doesn't end up being like the tier 1 deck, I think it'll be a lower tier 1, if not at the lowest and upper tier 2 deck moving forward. It's just so, like, you know, it didn't get touched by the Listroy that much at all. It's very consistent. You can very easily get it down to 40 cards to make it even more consistent, or you can even play around and go like up to 45 and include a bunch of tech. It's just there's so much you can do with it, and it's so strong that I think until we see, you know, the branded stuff come out and that'll shake things up, I think we're going to firmly see Swordsoul Tenyi, again, if not tier 1, then at the top of tier 2, in my opinion. But yeah, all right, that's going to do it for today's video. Just again, thank you very much for watching. I appreciate and love you all. This is XLex signing out. Hope you guys have a fantastic day.